Hello and welcome to our special program, To The Point. Today we are going to have a discussion on the issues related to Indian armed forces, both Air Force, Navy as well as Army. The issues related to defense acquisitions, issues related to the equipments which our armed forces need, and the entire process of defense procurement policy. And for this, we have with us today Air Vice Marshal Retired Manmohan Bahadur. Sir, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with us out here. You've been, at the helm of affairs in the Indian Air Force as Air Vice Marshal. You've seen it very close and personal. Let's begin with the needs of Indian Air Force in terms of, new equipments, be it combat fighter jets or be it other sort of equipments which are required, such as AWACS, the technology. Where does the strength of our Indian Air Force stand as of now in terms of equipments we have and equipments we need?
Okay, first of all, just to put the viewers at rest, the Air Force is very potent. But to keep the potency alive, we need to be modern, and we should have the equipment to match the threats that the nation is likely to face. So towards that, we have a program that happens. There's a long-term perspective plan of each service, which is combined together to form the long-term integrated perspective plan. So as per that LTIPP, each service prioritizes its requirements for the coming 3 plan periods. So we have the LTIPP up to 2027, which was approved by the DAC last year, 2013. So in that, since the question is about the Air Force, if we can segment that into the aircraft stream, then there is the air defense, and there are so many other things that come into the matrix. The pending issues which are hot, gathering fire, of course, is the famous MMRCA, which is pending and on which a decision needs to come, and needs to come pretty quickly, because it's been in the 15th Lok Sabha, the standing committee, standing parliamentary committee, has said that our squadron strength is down to 34.
Yeah, and that's isn't that a cause of serious concern?
It's a cause of worry, and it will go down as the aircraft continue to phase out. So it's urgent that a decision on the MMRCA comes pretty quick.
If you're talking about MMRCA out here, I was checking out the facts. This deal seems to have, gone well beyond the estimated costs, which was supposed to be there, because of the delays. 1, 2, because of both sides not being able to come to a common ground in terms of what can be delivered and what should be delivered. So don't you think these delays are not only causing the cost overruns, but also in a sense undermining the strength of the Indian Air Force?
You see, the cost will go up every day that we delay. When the project proposal must have been made by the Air Force, that was possibly in 2008 or even before that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
2007.
2007. So that's the time when an estimated cost was given. So you and I and everybody else is comparing that time's cost with the cost today, where the value of the rupee has gone down. But do remember, in terms of dollar terms or whatever was quoted at that point of time, it still hopefully remains the same. So if we delay, the cost in terms of Indian rupee will continue to rise.
Okay.
And the issue is that, yes, as the press says, that there are some contentious issues. But just remember that to all the vendors, there is a sacred document called Request for Proposal, RFP, in which there are 1, 2, 3, 10 items laid down, and everybody quotes as per the RFP, so that there is a level playing field. It's very difficult for the government. It's actually not permitted by the DPP to change terms of the RFP once the quotations have come in.
Okay.
Because factory X or company X quoted as per what you have said. Now you can't change that for a company Y at this stage. And hence, I believe one of the contentious things is the responsibility of HAL and the selected vendor, Marcel Dassault, not, I mean, this is what I hear in the press.
Yes.
I'm not aware of the facts. But I don't think, in my view, it can be changed. It can't be.
But isn't that, my question is that since you were there as Air Vice Marshal, the second man in command of the Indian Air Force, this entire process of the most important project, that's MMRCA, getting delayed, cost overruns aside, isn't that also undermining the strength of our Indian Air Force? Because in the beginning, as you said, and as was pointed out by the Parliamentary Standing Committee as well, that the strength of our squadrons has gone down considerably. So the inability to induct new fighter combat aircrafts because of the cost overruns or because of delays or because of both sides not being able to reach an agreement, isn't that going to be a little bit detrimental to the strength of our force?
Yeah, and that's been conveyed by successive air chiefs to the government, and that's come in the press. You see, in the procurement field, you have the air chief, then you have the vice chief, then the deputy chief, and then people like me come in. So it's under the deputy chief that this happens. And I'm sure, and I'm pretty sure that the gravity of the situation has been conveyed to the government, that there should not be any further delay by various chiefs.
In addition to the MMRCA, there is a proposal, between India and Russia to go ahead and manufacture the fifth generation fighter aircrafts. Also, there is, in addition to that, there is seemingly a huge need for transport aircraft carriers as far as Indian Air Force is concerned, helicopters as well. So how is that gap being bridged?
Some deals, some contracts have already been signed, and some proposals have already been accepted. So let's take the transport fleet first. We already are getting, we have got the 9th C-17 which has come in, strategic airlift, and that really extends the reach of the Air Force as well as of the nation in a way globally. We got the C-130s, 6 already in with the special ops aircraft, 6 more likely to come in, for which the approval has been given. So that gives us the modern assets in the transport fleet. Besides that, of course, the IL-76s will continue, and so would the AN-32s who have been recently upgraded. There is also the proposal for the multi-role transport aircraft, MTA, with Russia, which is supposed to be co-developed, but that's some years away. So that can be kept at the back of the mind, but that it is supposed to come, let's see when it comes.
But you would say that in this particular segment, the progress is satisfactory. Is that what it is?
It's still very early days for that, very early. Okay. So that would come only much beyond 2020, much beyond that.
Much beyond that.
Much beyond that.
Okay. One very important development which has been happening over the past few years is India moving from, as far as procurement of arms and other equipments are concerned for the defense forces, India moving from getting it only from Russia to cooperation or maybe say joint development of several other projects with other countries, be it Israel. We've seen in the recent past, a member of the Union Cabinet plus the Defense Secretary also paid a visit to Israel. And as far as Israel is concerned, it seems India is looking forward to that Airborne Early Warning and Control System, AWACS. Is that what we're looking at? Then Indo-Japan ties as well. There was a lot of talk about defense cooperation. Then we have cooperation between India and US as well. Do you think this India's this move of fanning out towards other countries to try and fulfill its needs is going to deliver in the short term, in the short run? Because I guess is what is the most important requirement right now is fulfilling the short term requirements. Is that what we're looking at?
What the Air Force projects or any service projects is a capability. It doesn't say I want to go the Russian way or the Israeli way or the American way. We say we require this capability. And then starts the process. Yes, we are basically a Russian assets, Air Force, Army, Navy, actually all three. And we have diversified now. And the diversification has happened more because of the need to get a particular type of capability.
Okay.
More modern, less maintenance intensive, so that you have more availability on the flight line or on the operation side. And hence we have gone about it because the C-17, the American transport aircraft are much more modern, and so are the fighters. But please do remember that in any deal that happens, it is a very level playing field as per the DPP, unless it's a government to government contract.
Okay.
As was the case in the C-17, as was the case in the C-130. But the MMRCA, six aircraft fly-off, the Apache was once again a global tender, the heavy lift helicopter, the Chinook, which finally is selected, multi-global. It so happens that in that case, both the times, the American aircraft, that is the Chinook and the Apaches, have been selected. It was not any deliberate government-to-government view.
Okay. So the underlying factor in all these is the capability, is the quality what we are looking at, not the idea of moving from X country to Y country. That's what we're saying.
That's correct. And just one major army contract, since we've not spoken of the army, the Spike anti-tank guided missile contract has gone to the Israelis and not to the Americans.
And from the Americans, there was an offer for Javelin and
but it didn't happen.
It didn't happen because of that factor. You spoke about bringing modernity. That's the idea is to ensure that the entire equipment which our forces have is modernized. That's an area of concern as far as modernization of our defense forces is concerned, and that is something which has been pointed out by various experts, including the Parliamentary Standing Committee, wherein it was specifically detailed that the amount of money which is being spent on the modernization of our army or maybe Navy or Air Force in terms of equipment is steadily coming down. Why? Why is that happening?
Okay, what happens is in the annual budget that is passed by the government, for example, 2014-15, the defense budget is 2,29,000 crores or so, of which for the capital acquisition, it's around 95,000 crores, give or take some. So out of this 95,000 crores capital budget segment, there are a whole lot of committed liabilities. That means contracts that have been concluded in the previous years. And you have to make payment every year, every succeeding year, as per what is given in the contract. So in this particular case, for example, so there are committed liabilities have piled up.
Okay.
Because we have had so many contracts going. So in this particular year, new contracts worth only around 9 to 10,000 crores can be signed by all the three services.
Okay.
Only 9 to 10,000. So that limits your number of contracts that you can sign. But the additional factor is, remember that when you sign a contract, you just pay 10 to 15% of the contract value as a signing amount. And the subsequent payments now become committed liabilities for the subsequent years. So every year, your committed liabilities keep increasing. So if the overall grant of capital acquisition doesn't increase, the number of new contracts you can sign in that particular year would reduce. So
you're saying this is just a numbers game wherein we're
it's a numbers game, but there is a cause for rather a call that there should be more for the capital acquisition.
There should be more for capital acquisition.
But one more thing, when there are special projects that are signed, like for example the MMRC, it's a huge project. I'm sure the government will allot something separate for that particular project.
Beyond this. Separate allocation of funds.
That's correct.
Okay, that's great. We'll take a short break here, but when we come back, we will continue this conversation with Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, and we will talk about DPP, that's Defense Procurement Policy, very important document as to what exactly does it mean, what exactly does it lay down, the guidelines. Also, we will talk about the efforts towards Make in India as far as defense equipments are concerned. That's indigenization of defense equipments. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur is still with us. Sir, let's move on to the next area. That's the defense procurement procedure. As to, the entire way through which equipments, be it from bullet to the fighter combat fighter aircraft is procured for our defense forces. There have been several concerns which have been raised in with regard to DPP over the last few years. Now, DPP only, as far as I understand, came into being after the entire, Kargil fiasco happened, and then it was decided that there should be a, proper guidelines, procedures laid down. But one very important point which has been, pointed out time and again by the experts is that the DPP does not guarantee a level playing field between the PSUs and the private players. And that is one of the basic reasons behind, us not being able to manage the cost overruns and get in more, expertise in terms of technology. Is that, do you subscribe to that?
That's a very simple way of putting it, because remember, the DPP is a thick document. What happens is it's meant to have a level playing field. That's number one. But there are certain additional policies that require tweaking and major tweaking if we have to get the private players into the defense scene, manufacturing. There are a lot of issues.
Okay.
But the aim of the DPP is good, which is to have price discovery. That means we get the item at the cheapest cost. Nobody takes us for a ride. And secondly, that everybody should have, as I said, equal chance to compete. But then what happens is that there are taxation policies.
Okay.
There are so many other issues that come in, which I think which have been pointed out by the services and as well as by the industry, to say that you please change these policies, modify them. For example, an item that is made in India, which has an imported content,
Okay.
is 41% approximately costlier than if you were to buy that from outside. Because when an Indian manufacturer makes that and he wants to put a little chip, no chips are made in India, they have to be imported. So, or any other thing like that, he has to pay customs, excise, the 3-4 taxes he has to pay.
Yeah.
That raises the cost for him. Whereas if a foreign bidder is bidding for that same item, he doesn't have to pay this. So it's sort of unlevel for the Indian vendor.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one. Secondly, for example, our explosives, our armament. Our armament, other than the basic ones being made by the ordnance factories and certain missiles or something being made under license by the BDL, Bharat Dynamics Limited, everything is imported. Because the explosive policy does not permit armament manufacture in the defense sector to private players. That needs to change. Because if the Army, Navy, Air Force can buy a missile or a bomb from a private player outside, why not from a private player inside?
And the critics also say that it's also the inability of the DPSUs to deliver. That's why domestic PSUs to deliver on the requirements, standards of requirements, both in terms of quality and quantity. That is why you need to have this entry being given to the private players in terms of ordinance.
That is another major point, one of the major points, because the order books of the DPSUs, the Defense Public Sector Undertakings, are overflowing. And they would require a finite amount of time. They do not have the capacity to do that. And the services require a capability as per a particular time frame.
Okay.
In war, there is no runner-up. Okay, there is only one guy who wins. So the services require a particular item and by a particular span of time. If that thing cannot be supplied by a DPSU, it must go. The service is required from somewhere, and hence they go abroad, hence they import. So the criticism of the services against the services that they want to buy everything from abroad is frankly not correct. If the DPSUs give quality and on time, then nothing can be more. I mean, I won't feel prouder than when flying a made-in-India aircraft.
So the quality as well as being on time is what exactly is the underlying principle.
That's right. Time overshoot, cost overshoots, bugbear of the DPSUs.
But would you then agree that the focus, which right now seems to be about ensuring Make in India, will that be successful in this term? Because in this scenario, because the DPSUs are not able to deliver. in terms and in the R&D segment as well, wherein we're talking about DRDO. Yes, there have been a lot of achievements from DRDO side, which can be definitely counted as successful ventures. But then again, as you said, not being able to deliver on time, not being able to give the quality as is being demanded or required by the armed forces, be it Army, Navy, or Air Force, whatever the equipment is made for. Do you believe that this would be possible, or there is a huge gap which has to be bridged first?
You see, you cannot set up manufacturing facilities overnight. Even if today everything was to fall in place, all the rules, regulations, finance, everything, land, availability of land, everything was to fall in place. You require a finite amount of time to set up that facility. And hence, when you're saying make in India, yes, certainly, we can do that. But please do remember that for a certain number of years, to set up your military industrial complex, if I can use that word, which is a very big word, will require a decade plus. Because you have to have the manpower, you have to have the land, you have to set up the factory, you have to get manpower, skilled engineers, and they don't come overnight. They don't come overnight. So the process has to begin, start, and be maintained. And I always use the word, it has to be done with maniacal zeal. I mean, there is no other way than to be, possessed to achieve that aim. If you're not possessed to achieve that aim, that time will drag.
And sooner we begin, the better.
That's correct.
Okay, let's also talk about indigenization. That's we're already talking about Make in India and all that. But then, if you look at the entire idea, and one of the projects which I can which comes to mind is Avro, something which you've been also associated with, I guess, during your time in the services. Why projects like Avro are not coming through? Won't they end up being sort of path-breaking movement, if at all they are given a go-ahead and work starts happening on those?
My view is yes. When you have a buy and make, that is buy from a certain number from abroad, get the technology and make the remaining in India. That's a buy and make project.
Buy and make project.
With transfer of technology. So when you do a buy and make project, the issue that comes up is that there has to be a company or an agency which is nominated to take over that contract. Up till now, what has happened? The only aviation entity in India is HAL. So all buy and make projects, the Indian nominated agency was HAL.
Okay.
And HAL's order books are overflowing. And they have a problem. They have enough on their task, enough on their plate. So the Air Force said, let's do a novel thing, which is let the nominated agency be an Indian private player.
Okay.
The advantage of that would be we possibly will get the equipment on time. And number two, it will start the Indian aviation manufacturing sector will get a private player, which is not there presently, of a sizable capacity.
So basically the doors will open to the
doors will open, you'll have ancillary equipment, and hopefully, once you get the technology and private venture being accountability being there, then some R&D will take place, and that would be the starting, the germination of the seed, if I can say, for the aviation industry to start. So I think, in my view, that the Avro replacement project is the ideal thing to go.
So, but where is the problem? It's like the RFP was done, the interest was shown by just one bidder, the Indian player was also there, but it is yet to take off.
Yeah, as I understand from the press, once again, I understand that some clarifications have been asked by the DAC. What those clarifications are, I don't know. But it's not been stopped. I think it's gone back to the air headquarters or somewhere for clarifications. It has not been rejected as a single vendor situation. Because earlier the single vendor situation was a black word. Nobody was willing to take the step to say that, okay, give it to that single vendor, because tomorrow somebody will point a finger.
Okay.
So, but luckily till now, that's not happened.
Okay, one last question before we bring this conversation to an end. That is about, in this scenario which you're talking about, opening the doors to private players, buy and make in India, the collaboration between the Indian defense forces and the private players, bringing in private players as well. Won't there be a contentious issue as far as TOT is concerned? That's transfer of technology. And that is something which has been a contentious issue, be it the earlier deals wherein it was government to government or even government to private players. TOT is something which has been a contentious issue. Won't in this scenario also TOT will become a problematic thing?
You have to be careful when you use the word TOT.
Okay.
Is it maintenance TOT? That is, you buy an equipment and you have to maintain it. So the books say, turn the screw 5 times, put so much of Dan, pressure. That's the know how.
Okay.
You do not know the know why. Why is it being done? That's where it comes to a situation where that's the real transfer of technology. But please remember that no manufacturer in the world will give you the cutting edge technology. If he does that, he's lost his business.
So you're saying no manufacturer will tell you know why. He can only tell you know how.
He will tell you know why of items which are a generation previous. He'll never give you that. That's the importance of getting R&D going in our country. DRDO has to deliver in all fields. It's delivered in very many fields. The Akash missile system, for example, the surface-to-air missile, the Air Force is happy, is ordered, Army is also ordered certain squadrons. So the point is, it has to happen everywhere, in all the fields. R&D has to be truly indigenous.
So production as well as R&D both will have to be kept in focus. Thank you so much, Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur. So this was, overall discussion as to how and where the challenges are as far as India's defense procurement procedure is concerned. Where does our forces stand in terms of their strength? What do they require? What can we do out here to ensure that there is indigenization, modernization, and we can equip our soldiers, our forces with items made in India, with technology being researched and developed in India. Thank you so much for watching. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.